Welcome to the Intuitive CEO podcast, a space where we explore the future of leadership at the intersection of AI, intuition, and psychology. Together, we'll uncover how leaders can create truly happy workplaces, harness the power of human connection, and redefine success in our fast-changing world. I'm your host, Gemma Price, Master Intuitive Psychology Coach, co-founder of The Happy Workplace, and CEO of HubGem, where I've seen firsthand how culture, people-first leadership, and technology can combine to build award-winning organisations. So today I'm joined by Karen Sutton, the UK's first widow coach, a master intuitive psychology coach, and one of the most resilient and inspiring women that I know. After the sudden death of her husband, Simon, Karen's world was turned upside down. And in the depths of unimaginable loss, she made a vow that this wouldn't define her or her children's lives negatively forever. Through courage, mindset work, and deep self-awareness, she has rebuilt her life with purpose and compassion. And now as a widow coach, Karen has transformed her own experience of grief into a mission to help others find hope, clarity, and joy again. She helps widows move beyond survival, to reconnect them with who they are, rediscover meaning, and creating a fulfilling life. Karen's story is one of purpose born from pain, and I can't wait for you to hear the wisdom and humanity she brings to this conversation. Karen, thank you so much for joining us.
Wow, what an introduction. I'm excited to hear what I'm going to say now. That was a big build-up. Thank you for having me.
It's so exciting to have you here. So we've been on a bit of a journey together. We both trained at the same time to become master intuitive psychology coaches. So very excited to just dig into what it all looks like. So your story is one of incredible transformation. So let's take you back a little bit and start at the beginning of this journey. Obviously, it was a really difficult time in those early days. What helped you shift from surviving as a new widow to finding that purpose again?
Good question. What was it? I think I think at the forefront of it all was an inner determination. It was very kind of instinctive and an absolute for me. You know, I had to figure out how I was going to find my way through this in the best way that I could. You've either got to know what you want or what it is that you don't want. And for me, I knew I didn't want to become a sad, frustrated, angry, resentful person that life had taken me down. And I discovered so much about myself through my grief that alone kind of transformed my life. There was so much awareness, so much growth, so much depth and enrichment, actually. And every sort of step that I took and I discovered something more, it kind of made me go, well, if I can do that, and I didn't think that I'd be able to do that, what else can I do? Like it's that kind of don't stop here thing, isn't it? So for me, and I continue to be on this journey, I think, much like you, Gemma, you discover the world of personal development. You start to tap into your mind, how it works, your nervous system, how that works, the impact that your thoughts have on your feelings, therefore your actions, your behaviors, the way you see the world. And when you start connecting all these dots, you just kind of start to see actually how you are experiencing life and the impact that you are having on your life in the way that you think, in the beliefs that you hold to be true. And when you start to challenge those things, and then in doing that, life becoming different, you just keep going. You just keep pulling back those layers, don't you? Because there's always more. I don't think you ever get to the end. And so, for me, it started off as that absolute determination. But as I've gone on and I've seen the impact this work has, I I just want to keep going and keep moving with it.
Yeah, and that's so beautiful because the journey of sort of personal healing and yeah, uncovering all those layers. There, as you say, there's always more to do, and it does every time you get to the next layer. It opens your eyes to how much more there is to life, and so it was really beautiful that you were able to take that and really make that commitment to yourself to go on that journey. And then ultimately, you've managed to turn that into a thriving business, and now you're serving other people in their journey. Like, what was the pivotal point for you? What was it that made you realize that I need to help others?
So it was, I tell you, 2.5 years after Simon died, I was sat in a coffee shop with two friends. And I guess I was still grieving. However, it wasn't that deep, raw, acute grief. It was a bit softer, and I was starting to think about, well, what's next for me? You know, the girls were still young. I was a midwife and a nurse before Simon died, and I kind of thought, oh, I've taken some time off to steady myself and the girls and find our way a little bit. And I'd done that, but I still felt really quite lost. I still wasn't sure who I was, what I wanted, where I was heading. So I was sat in the coffee shop with my friends saying that I just felt a bit, you know, just unfulfilled, a lack of purpose and direction. You know, as everyone does, they're like, why don't you help out at the school? Or why don't you do some volunteering? Or why don't you see if you can go back to the NHS part-time? But none of it was really landing.
Mm.
And I was, and actually, somebody said to me, why don't you get a life coach? And I thought, what's a life coach? I'd never heard of a life coach before. But I, you know, and you just think, oh, do you know what? I'll give it a go, because I don't know what other options I have. It was a lot of money at the time, and I did sort of take a sharp breath, because you just think, really? I've never spent that kind of money on myself before. But I took a leap of faith, and I did it. And within 6 months of having the life coaching, it was based on my fitness and my nutrition. I wanted to feel healthier. But he was really good. He was a mindset coach as well. So it kind of all tied in, and we did a lot of, you know, the personal development side alongside the health and nutrition side of it. And within 6 months, I'd completely transformed my life. Now, I'm not going to say it was perfect and everything was better, you know, and exactly how I want it to be. It wasn't, but how I felt in that 6 months, I felt lighter. I felt more hopeful. I felt a greater sense of awareness and understanding. I was being kinder to myself. I was starting to learn about who I was, what I valued, what was important to me, what I wanted life to look like and feel like, not what I thought it should have looked like, not what I expected it to look like. And in that 6-month period, I kind of thought, do you know, if I can have this impact on how I feel in 6 months, so can others. Because if I can do it, so can everyone else. I'm no different. I'm a human being. I don't have any magical powers. I'm just a mum whose husband died and was trying to find a way. So I thought, do you know what? I couldn't find the support I was looking for in my widowhood. I found peer support, online peer support and in-person peer support, which was great. But I wanted more than that. I wanted the tools. I wanted the strategies. I wanted the mindset shifts. I wanted to be inspired. I wanted to be given hope. I wanted to be told there is a way through. Not that anyone gives you the answers, but they can help you find your answers. And I couldn't find it. So I decided to create it. I kind of put my lived experience into a package with, you know, the life coaching I'd had. I trained to become an integrative health coach myself. I did a grief educators program, and I sort of brought all those things together. And honestly, Gemma, I've just kind of been making it up as I go along. I started out just thinking, well, I'll just coach people here in the office in my garden. It used to be Simon's, and just see people locally one-to-one. COVID hit. I discovered Zoom, and I could reach people further afield. And and what I did was working. What I created worked. It was having the same impact that it had on me, and that I'd hoped it would have. So it was just knowing that if I was looking for something, I was wanting something, other people must be wanting that too, and they were.
That's yeah, and what a lovely thing to I guess the fact that you've been through it yourself to then bring that, so when you are coaching, that the women feel heard, that they feel understood deeply, and that you can show them what's possible as well. You know, that will inspire them that even in their grief, that there is a future ahead, and you know they can live again. So you mentioned there some of the, I guess, sort of the key things that were your values. But I guess, how do those values influence the way that you look at business? How do those values influence the way you grow your community and create your services? You know, you're you said you were that person at the beginning who needed this.
Yeah.
So I imagine there's some really deep rooted things that you needed. How do they shape your community and your business?
Hugely, I think, because, one thing that I've learned is that I absolutely need to be able to show up authentically. And I'm not a good liar. I'm not good at pretending. When I'm up, I'm up. When I'm down, and everything in between. And I've always I've always kind of worn my heart on my sleeve. That's just who I am as a person. And taking that into my community, I think exactly like you've just said there, it helps people to feel seen and heard and held, because I don't come into the community pretending that I've got all the answers and that I can transform their lives. I'm there to educate, to guide and mentor and coach, but ultimately I want to help people find their way, their truth, their healing. And for me, it really is about me creating something where we can all just show up as ourselves. There's no judgment, there's no criticism, there's no competition. It really is just, look, however you're feeling, whatever's going on for you, whether you feel invincible and you are winning at life and you've achieved something you never thought you were going to achieve and you want to shout it from the rooftops, this is your place. Like, come here,
Mm.
we're all cheering you on. However, if you're having a day where you think, I can't do this, and I don't even know if I want to do this, it's too hard, come, we'll hold you up, we'll support you. It's not about pretending. I want to create communities of people that are fighting for a life they can't see, that people that refuse to become victims. So they've got that inner drive, that inner desire, but also just that real, compassionate, authentic place and space for us all to just show up in our truth. And I think for me, that's kind of just what I wanted, what I needed, and what I want to provide to others. The inspiration. I do sometimes think, should I separate the communities out into those earlier in their grief and, away from those further on? But I don't think so, because I think the ones that come in that are earlier in their grief, they see this, not just me, they're seeing others that are finding their way and are creating a life for themselves. But also the ones that are further on can see the ones coming in and kind of go, God, I remember being that fragile, that delicate, that raw. And I can, moving through widowhood is so slow and so painful that you sometimes miss the kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, the progress that you make. So I think it works to keep everyone in that same place. So yeah, it's all about truth, kindness, authenticity, and just supporting each other, meeting people where they're at, and holding that space for them.
I mean, it sounds so beautiful. So I imagine the hope that gives people is incredibly powerful, to be in that community. And so let's talk about one of my favorite topics, intuition. Because intuition being that inner guidance, that compass that keeps you going the right way. And you said there how when you were considering what to do next, that your previous role as a midwife didn't feel right, and I would say that's your intuition telling you that that wasn't the path for you. So, how has your intuition guided you on this journey? And I guess both in personal life and in business, is it something you use sort of consciously?
Well, it is now. I didn't before. It's interesting, isn't it? You learn these concepts, and of course, intuition. You hear the word gut instinct, gut feeling. Um, I think it's something that comes in really strongly when something's really wrong. And you get that gut instinct that you shouldn't do something. I think that was probably my kind of take on it, and I didn't ever really give it an awful lot of thought. Obviously, as I've gone through this grieving journey and rebuilding, I've relied on it more because it has just been about me. And as much as I'm surrounded by incredible people, Gemma, I have my family, my friends, they're all amazing. However, none of them have lost a life partner and been left. I was 39 years old. The girls were 9 and 5 when Simon died. And, you go out and you ask people for their advice, their thoughts on things. What should I do? And people would tell me what to do. And I started to learn that actually, God, these things aren't, I don't know, they're just not sitting right. And I don't know that I necessarily would have said my intuition is guiding me in a different way, but I definitely became more connected with it. And obviously training with IPA to become a master intuitive psychology coach has deepened that connection that I have with my intuition. And I'm still working on that. I wouldn't say it's something that comes maybe naturally to me, and I'm quite in my head as well. So I will get an intuitive nudge, but I will then question it. And I come up here into my head, and I then go, oh, what if that's not right though? What if that's wrong? And what if that's not really intuitive nudge? What if that's just what I think I should be doing? And I start analysing it all, and it really is learning to just slow down and sit with things. We live in a very fast-paced world. We're all very busy. We're all very distracted. My mantra is I'm busy and I'm tired, which I'm really, I think we've shared this in my training. I'm trying to change it to I have space and I am productive.
Yeah, they're not the best affirmations to live by, are they?
They're really not. And I just keep falling back into it. And I'm like, Karen, what's wrong with you? But, just really trying to create more space and allow my intuition to guide me. Now, it's not easy because, your intuition often is presenting you with truths that you don't want to be your truth. So, so you're getting this feeling, this gut feeling, this intuitive nudge, and you're going, oh, no, it's wrong. It's wrong. I don't want to be doing that. That's ridiculous. That's going to be awful. How's that going to work out? And you kind of distract yourself and you do something completely different, but you just keep getting pulled back to this intuitive nudge. And what I'm really trying to learn to do is trust it and be guided by it. But it's not easy because I don't always want my intuition to be right. And that's hard.
Yeah, that's a good point because, I think if you say to someone, gut feeling, intuition, they go, oh yeah, I know what that is, like a gut feeling, like you say, it's something where it's really bad. But it is, first of all, it is a lot quieter. So that voice it is more of a nudge. And so you can feel it and maybe even recognize it if you're sort of self-aware enough. But then acting on it is a whole new level of courage because it might not be comfortable just because it's right or aligned or whatever, or your intuition knows that it's the right path. If you either aren't ready to accept that or it's too scary because, it might require big life changes or whatever it is, you've got to feel, and then, the head hops in as well and
Yeah.
tries to convince you why not to do it. And it can feel conflicting. Like I've had that as well. And it is a practice, right? You've got to keep trusting it and keep going and trying.
You have, and it's not always easy. And I think in life and in business, I find it hard in life, but also sometimes in business, because you can get swept up in business, and you talk to other business people and you go to business events, and everyone's going after similar things. But actually, sometimes when you come back to yourself, your intuition might be kind of going against what the rest of the world is doing, or what maybe you thought you wanted to do, but now it's changing a little bit. And that's hard, that's hard, because then how do you sort of go down a slightly different path, or how do you choose something different? You work so hard to get to a certain point, and then to allow yourself to just check in and go, is this what I want? Is this where I want to continue heading towards? Or maybe is there something else that might feel a little bit more aligned? And when you're caught up in the weeds of everything, you sometimes think, well, like this maybe isn't feeling that aligned with me anymore, but I don't really know what is. And you really do have to slow down and create that space and go in, because you're right, your intuition's so quiet. It's very easily drowned out by the noise of your head, of life, of expectation. And I think to give ourselves time and space to just reconnect and check in, it has to become part of our self-care routine. But God, when you've got a million and one things to do, it's the hardest thing to do.
The hardest thing is slowing down. And so often as well, like you might have gone so far along a path.
Yeah.
And it can be quite hard if you've, let's say you've built a business and you realize it no longer feels aligned, or you're in a career and whatever it might be, you're like, oh my God, I've put years of my life into this and now my gut's telling me no. Like, it can actually be quite hard to then, you can almost talk yourself out of anything at that point, regardless of how strong the gut is. So that can be quite a challenge. So one thing I'm really keen to explore with you is, I guess, the concept of vulnerability, because you will be seen as a leader for women, who are looking to you, to your guidance, to your coaching, and they will really look up to you. And balancing vulnerability and leadership is something that I've been in this space for a while with my culture work. And I'd love to get your take on it, because the very nature of what you do must require, I guess, a level of vulnerability. How do you navigate that whilst also being, showing up fully for the women as they need you?
Yeah. It's a good question, because I can get caught in my head and think, I can't share my truth because people are looking to me for guidance. They are looking to me for that hope, for that inspiration, for answers, I think sometimes. Although I'm very clear that I don't have all their answers, I can absolutely help them find theirs. But they still say to me, I absolutely came to you because I thought you'd give me all the answers. But that's okay. That's what we do, right? But I I think it's a connection point, isn't it? Vulnerability. When I'm always a little bit dubious of people that show up and present a perfect life, and kind of, presents this picture perfect, beautiful home, beautiful family, abundant and money magnets, and they're beautiful and they're healthy and they're strong and they go on amazing holidays. And I'm sat there thinking, I'm not convinced. Like we're human beings, right? And what I don't want to do is present a life to people that they then start to strive towards getting, that is actually a load of, can I swear?
You can swear.
Baloney. Yeah. It's just bullshit, isn't it? Let's call it
Yeah.
as it is. Because if I sit here and kind of say, do you know what? I've got all the answers. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know where I'm heading. I'm completely at peace with myself. I have total awareness. I'm happy. I dance around fields and my children are beautiful and everything. Like, that's not authentic. And then the people that are looking to me for guidance are going to be going, well, I want that, but that doesn't exist because that's
Mm.
not real. So for me, I'm I'm very, very honest, and I will tell people, even if it's not grief related. There used to be a point where I thought I can only really talk about my grief in these circles, but I'm 9 years down the line now after Simon died, and my grief doesn't necessarily show up in huge waves anymore. It's life stuff. So I just want to normalize life and being human, and say, look, you might have a life that is beautiful like I do. I do. There's nothing wrong with my life, but I have moments and times where I feel exhausted, where I feel depleted, where I kind of go, oh God, what's going on? What do I even want? What's all this about? I can feel disconnected from people around me. I can feel unfulfilled. I can feel confused. I can feel so incredibly tired and frustrated. And just letting people know that I don't think there's an end point that you get to in life where you've got all your shit together, because I just think we're constantly evolving and constantly changing. I do have to have boundaries around my vulnerability. And, I think vulnerability is a big word. And sometimes when you open yourself up and think about vulnerability, there can almost be a feeling of that you're open to attack, almost, because you open yourself up, don't you? And I think we have to be really careful about that. There has to be boundaries around what you are wanting and willing to share. And I have that. I will share things up to a point, but I do have a cutoff point where I go, that's mine. That's mine. And I might share that privately in a one-to-one conversation with a dear friend, but I wouldn't put it into my communities or on social media, because I don't want to open myself up that much. And I think we have to honor that as well. Some people do. Some people are happy to put everything out there. I'm not that person at the moment. That might change. I don't know. But, I have to respect the people I'm with as well. My partner, Andy, my children, my mother-in-law, Simon's mum. There are certain things that you kind of go, well, that's not really mine to share, or I don't feel like I'm able to share that, because that's too much. But again, it just comes back to being real. It's just being real, isn't it? And I think it's that realness that allows people to trust you, put their faith in you, and connect. It's all about connection. And I think when we're pretending, or maybe not even, maybe, I don't know, maybe some people have got it all sorted, and I don't, maybe they do, maybe that is possible. And maybe it's just my stories that lead me to believe that it's not. But I don't know, I don't know how connecting that is.
Well, I think it's easy. We can all feel, that we feel when you're on social media and you're just seeing someone's highlights reel, because
Yeah.
it's so unrelatable.
Yeah.
Like, and I've had people say to me, when they've seen my Instagram, and I try to show up fully on there, and um "Oh, you've got it all." And I'm like, "No." And I'm always very quick to correct them. Like, "You didn't see me tearing my hair out 'cause my toddler's not slept in 3 days. I
Yeah.
am hanging on by a thread today.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was in a great space, but today not so much." And showing up. And I think what you said there about having vulnerability and boundaries is key. That's certainly been something for me as a leader, particularly in my company, that um I am proud to be a heart-led leader. I'm proud to show my vulnerability. And I'll be honest with the team, I'm having a tough day. I might even say, I'm a bit hormonal today. Really not feeling it, actually, but I'm doing my best.
Yes.
And with that, the team share. But
Yeah.
I don't turn up to a Monday morning team call bawling my eyes out, because everyone would lose their minds and it's not really going to facilitate good business. Like, I might do that to my husband before the call.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
those boundaries, isn't it? Yeah, having them safe spaces, creating safe spaces for others, but don't feel you have to sacrifice
No.
your own sort of everything to
No.
do it.
No, I don't. I think sometimes we do see people out there that share what would you'd perceive as everything. It might not be, because of you don't know. But some people kind of, in my mind, overshare, but that works for them, and that's fine. But like like you say there are just some things that I kind of go, they're my things, and I need to work through those things myself, and I don't want to put them out into the world. So it's knowing that about yourself, isn't it? And knowing where you draw that line.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that brings us nicely onto beliefs, limiting beliefs. You know, we all have these things, these thorns in our side that show up throughout life, and I'm sure you see lots of this in your coaching as well. And something I feel really strongly about on having been on my journey is around I guess overcoming or becoming aware of those beliefs so that they don't hold you back in life and in business. And, you know, I look at the beliefs I had around what it meant to be a leader, what it meant to be a woman leader, a mum and a leader, and also being okay with the word leader, which to begin with, I'm not sure I was. Like, so I'd love to hear, like, from your perspective, how do limiting beliefs show up in your life, and what do you do with them when they do?
Oh my God, they are rife, Gemma. And I don't know. I think I think it's true for everyone that we all have these stories that we tell ourselves, because when we start to think about what we want and what we would like to dream about potentially having in the future, we can only base that on the evidence that we've got up to this point, right? And if you haven't achieved the thing that you want to achieve in the future, you kind of go, well, I can't do that. I've got no evidence to back that up. And we can get stuck in that space, and you kind of think, well, like, you know, it's not for me. I'm not clever enough. I'm not young enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not pretty enough. And, you know, I'm not skinny enough, and all these stories that we tell ourselves. And I do it all the time. But what I have learned is that I now have an awareness of that, and I will challenge it. And I will say to myself, Karen, you know, like, I'm 48 years old now, and I have achieved things in my life, you know, before Simon died and after Simon died, that I probably at some point didn't believe that I could achieve. And I have to go back to the point I kind of made at the beginning, that if you look at your life and you've achieved things that you never thought possible, you have to be able to look ahead and challenge yourself and say, I can't see how I'm going to get there, but I have to believe that it's possible if I want it. And you have to make sure that what you are working towards is aligned with you, your values, you know, what you truly desire in life. I think it's very easy to get caught up in this noisy world of doing all the big things and feeling like you have to achieve, you know, the biggest, loudest, most amazing things in the world to be of value or of service. And that's not true. It comes back to what's within. And this is what I'm really learning, is that if you have a dream, a goal, a desire, you're only seeing that because it's possible for you. And if there is something, if there is a little ember, a spark within you that kind of just keeps whispering, and that you keep in your head kind of going, oh God, and that's ridiculous. Don't be silly. You can't do that. That's not for you. That's for other people. And you get these little images keep coming in, these dreams, these ideas, these excited feelings that you just keep pushing aside because you tell yourself you can't. That's your intuition. That is telling you that it is possible for you. It wouldn't be there. Like, I don't get an intuitive nudge to go on the X Factor and become the next, what's her name? I don't even know her name. Or the big woman that everyone goes mad about that tours the world. Going out with the American footballer.
I'm the wrong person to ask for this.
Oh my God, this is going to... I've got Britney Spears on my mind, but it's not Britney Spears. It'll come to me later. Anyway, I don't have that desire. I don't have that dream because A, I can't sing, and B, I don't want it. Do you know what I mean? And I think you have to remind yourself that you are capable and that you are amazing and that you can learn. You might not know how to do something right here, right now. You might not have the whole path mapped out in front of you. You might not know which direction you're going to go in or exactly what it's all going to feel like, and that step-by-step process. but just trust and take that first step and learn the first thing you need to learn, and then figure out what you need to learn next. And each time you're growing and evolving, and you're building something that is yours. And limiting beliefs can go way back, and I think sometimes in our work as the, master intuitive psychology coaches, you have to go back into the shadow and do the inner child stuff, because sometimes there's something that's happened that's led you to believe something about yourself that isn't actually true, and unpacking that can be uncomfortable, but it can also be really freeing. But sometimes it is just taking a leap of faith and trusting your intuition and trusting yourself. I don't think we trust ourselves enough, and just allowing ourselves to go after it. If there's anything I've learned in life, Gemma, we're here once, and how long for, I don't know. There's a book that's been written, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called, I think it's 4,000 weeks, or was it 40,000? I can't remember now. I think it's 4,000, no, 40,000. Anyway,
A lot of weeks.
so it is. It's the amount of weeks that you will live in an average lifetime.
Oh, I have heard of this.
Yes, Oliver, someone. And actually, when you kind of think, well, I'm 48 years old, so I've probably got about 1,500 weeks left. Do you know?
Wow.
Because I've lived a lot of my life. When you break it down like that, you I'm sure it's 4,000, because it's not a lot. When you say you've got 4,000 weeks, it's not a lot. And when you think I've got 1,500 left, it kind of makes you just wake up and think the chances of us being here and being alive and having this lived human experience are like 400 trillion to 1, aren't they? They're ridiculous. And then when you get here, you've got 4,000 weeks. Like the numbers are crazy. If you're lucky, you get 4,000 weeks. So, sometimes you just have to go, when you get to the end of your time here on earth, what do you want to have done? What do you want to have achieved? What do you want to reflect back on your life and kind of go, I'm really glad I did that. That was good. Because what I don't want to do is get to the end of my life and be full of, I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd tried. I wish I'd had the courage. I wish I'd believed in myself. Because you don't get to go back and try again. And yes, we can all have 101 reasons why we shouldn't do something, why we think we're not capable of doing it. But, if you don't try, you'll never know. And sometimes it is in the trying. It might not work out the way you thought it would or you hoped it would, but that's okay. Try again in a different way.
I love that. And it really changes your perspective on life, right? When you look at it from through that lens, because I have to do this all the time in business, because there's a million things that will tell me that I need to make more money. I need to move faster, more money, faster, more money. Don't get me wrong, we'd all like a bit more. And I'm sure, that is important. I've got to make a profit. But that's not, I have to stop sometimes and will that make me happier? Is that, what else is that going to come at a cost for? No, I'd rather be able to switch off at the end of the day and be present with my kids on a weekend, or, whatever it is. I'm not going to, I'm fine. I don't need more. And it's been really freeing and empowering. And I think looking through that lens of we're only here for a limited time really helps with this, because, I have sat in business meetings with sort of advisors, and they've challenged, you could do this and it'll make you more, and we could do this. And then I'm just going to stop you.
Yeah.
Is that going to make me any happier? And they almost fall off their chair, because I just think we've got so ingrained in this. We must be faster, more profit, faster, more efficient. And in the process, we're losing happiness, connection, authenticity. And so I want to get to the end and be like, you know what? I'm really happy. I'm really happy with how it went. And I'm really glad that I didn't sacrifice my happiness to have a few more zeros in the bank account that now is going to sit there because I can't take it anyway.
Exactly. The tax man will be beaming from ear to ear.
Yeah. And so, as we approach the end of what has been the most amazing conversation, what's next for you? Because you've, fairly recently, earlier this year, qualified as a master intuitive psychology coach. You've got an incredible business already. You make such an impact in the world. What's your plan?
Very good question. That's something I'm really sitting with at the moment because I kind of had a plan. Um, I do want to change the way for widows. I want to create more support for them, and the way I kind of wanted to do that, I don't know. Is the honest truth, Gemma. I'm at the moment I'm feeling called for smaller communities and connections. And I don't know what that'll look like. I don't know where I'm heading. I don't have the answers. I'm very much in this liminal space of the unknown of what's next. I thought I knew. I thought I knew where I was going, and I might still. But I'm just taking time, if I'm honest, to check in with me right now because, like you've just said, going after the big business, the big dreams, that what you say yes to, you're saying no to something else. And what is the cost of me going balls out and wanting to change the world? That might work for me, that might be something I can do, but I'm just taking this time to check in with is that what I want? Because at the moment I'm struggling to be present. I'm struggling to switch off. I'm struggling to just find joy in my life outside of work because I've been so driven and ambitious and ingrained in what I do because I love it so much that there has been a cost to that. I'm not going to lie, there has. And I don't regret it at all. I've loved every single second of it. But now I'm just taking a pause and things are running and I've got people in my team helping me. But what is next is kind of what I'm sitting with because I want to make sure that it's aligned, that it's what I truly want and it's going to allow me to live my life and give me the opportunities in my life to live in a way that's meaningful to me.
You know what I love there is that you don't just talk the talk, you're embodying it. You're sitting with it and going, actually, I'm going to make the space. I don't know. And that is exactly what we spoke about in that we don't have all the answers and we have to follow those nudges. You're not just saying that and showing other people. You're going, this is uncomfortable and I don't know the way, but maybe the way knows the way. And I've just got to
Yeah.
carry on this path. And it's not all that comfortable, but we'll go with it and see where we end up. And also, I can't help but think how much better the world would be on a bigger scale if everybody just took time before going full steam ahead and down a path. If everyone stopped and went, what do I really want here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't have to do the thing that you said you were going to do 5 years ago if that feels
Mm,
different for you now. And I think it's giving ourselves permission to change our minds sometimes or do things a little differently. As uncomfortable and as scary as that is, I think that's okay. That's okay.
yeah. Well, the world changes around us. It would be crazy to think that because we said something 5 years ago, that we
Yeah.
have to continue to be that version of us that was 5 years ago. Meanwhile, the rate of change around us is crazy. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's beautiful. Karen, I've absolutely loved our conversation. Thank you so much. And if people want to learn more about you, what should they do?
Oh, bless you. So they can obviously find me on social media. I'm mainly on Instagram and Facebook. I'm also on TikTok and LinkedIn, but it's at Karen Sutton Widow Coach or my website, karensutton.co.uk.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.